The long cane is really useful for detecting obstacles that are in my path. Navigating with the long cane in situations where there are lots of obstacles can really slow down my journey. I have to concentrate on everything my cane touches, which can be mentally exhausting when I'm traveling long distances. Even areas that I know really well can suddenly become challenging due to changes in the type, location, and number of obstacles present. Unfortunately, because the cane is designed to be kept on the ground in front of me, it doesn't let me know if there are obstacles in my path that are raised up at head height. Obstacles at head height can present a significant risk to my safety and can really lower my confidence if I contact them. The cane also can't warn me about cars entering or exiting driveways that intersect with the path I'm traveling on. When I'm walking with my guide dog Ali, I often don't even realize there are obstacles in my way. Ali guides me around them and chooses the straightest and clearest path of travel. This makes traveling more fluid and much faster. Traveling with a guide dog generally requires much less concentration than traveling with a cane because I don't have to continually contact and interpret everything on my travel route. This means I'm not as tired when I get to my destination. Ali avoids the obstacles at head height that the cane would not be able to detect. She has also been trained to stop for cars that enter and exit driveways in front of me. I can use the long cane to access public transport so I can get to uni. Negotiating crowds can be difficult as people frequently don't see the long cane. Or if they do, they don't understand that it means I have a vision impairment. I need to concentrate and pay very close attention to what my cane is telling me, or I can easily miss the entrance to the station. I usually find it easier to stay close to the walls when traveling through large open spaces. Following the walls helps me to stay orientated, but it's more difficult and time-consuming than traveling straight through the middle of the open space. When my train arrives, I have to be very cautious about finding the door and stepping over the gap into the train carriage. Trains don't stop for very long, so I need to move quickly while staying safe. Inside the train carriage, I often have to rely on another passenger to help me find a seat. My guide dog is really useful for accessing public transport, particularly complex areas like train stations. A guide dog is much more noticeable than a long cane, and more people understand that it means I've got a vision impairment. Because of this, I find that people tend to get out of my way when they see me approaching. This makes travelling a lot more efficient. Ali can guide me safely through the crowds of people and has been trained to locate the internal stairs and the platform my train arrives on. With Ali, I can travel through wide open spaces because she can see which way to go and will keep me on the right path. Once we reach the stairs, I know exactly where I am again, and we work as a team to reach the platform. When the train arrives, Ali finds the door to the train carriage, and she can guide me to an empty seat. The size and busy nature of my university campus presents challenges when you're not able to see where you're going. With such short gaps between classes, it's very difficult to get to my lecture on time when I'm relying on walls, garden beds, railings, and other structures. There are also a number of road crossings on campus that blend into the footpath, and I often find myself halfway across the street before I realise. My orientation and mobility instructor has taught me to find the rooms that I need to use by following particular walls that lead me to the entrances of lecture theatres and tutorial rooms. Inside the lecture theatres, I have to really listen out for where people are seated so I don't end up sitting on somebody. With my guide dog, I can walk straight through the middle of the open spaces at my uni to get from A to B quickly and efficiently. On the way to my destinations, Ali comes to a stop at the road crossings that are blended into the footpath, so I know where I am and know to listen for approaching vehicles before continuing. Ali has been trained to find the buildings and rooms that I visit regularly. Not only can Ali take me directly to the lecture room that I require, she's able to take me to the closest vacant seat once I get inside. In addition to my classrooms, Ali has also been familiarised with the general layout of the campus. She is able to find commonly used locations like the cafeteria, public toilets, and the information desk at the uni library. At busy street intersections, I have to carefully navigate my way past other pedestrians to locate the audio-tactile button. Once I press the button, I have to use my cane to find the correct spot on the footpath so I can cross the road straight. Tactile ground surface indicators are designed to help people who are blind or vision impaired, but they are not at most road crossings. The ramps often point in unhelpful directions, which can mislead me into walking into the middle of the intersection. At scramble intersections, where people can cross diagonally, I can't rely on following the sounds of other pedestrians, or else I might walk off course. Ali is really good at finding the pole for the traffic lights and positioning me so I can cross the road straight. When it's time to cross, Ali takes me to the other side of the road in as straight a line as possible while avoiding the other pedestrians. When the crossing is complete, I know exactly where I am and I can tell Ali where to go next. Travelling with the long cane in busy areas can be difficult as I become hindered by pedestrians and obstacles outside shops. Sometimes I accidentally collide with people or trip them up when they are not paying attention to where they are walking. The increased pedestrian traffic and noise can also disorientate me and make it even harder to get where I am going. I sometimes meet up with a friend at a cafe on the way, which requires me to cross an open area to get to the entrance. Some days I am lucky and I walk straight through the front door into the cafe. Other days, things can go a bit wrong and I end up in the stores on either side. Once I find the cafe, I can use the cane to locate the counter and a seat at the table, but this gets much harder as the cafe gets busier. When it is really busy, I'll often ask for assistance or just skip the cafe altogether. One of the biggest benefits for me of walking with a guide dog is in crowded situations. Ali always manages to get us through crowds smoothly, even if the other pedestrians aren't watching where they, or I, am going. Ali has been trained to find the cafe that I use regularly and will take me directly to the front door if I ask her to. Inside the cafe, Ali has also been trained to find the counter, but she will also stop if there is a queue of people waiting. And as usual, Ali will find an appropriate vacant seat for me if I ask her to. Guide dogs are very well behaved in social settings, and I have no problem trusting Ali around all the food. I can use the long cane to find the entrance to my workplace by following the building line until I find the TGSIs at the bottom of the stairs. I have to make sure I use my cane correctly and pay very close attention, because it is easy to miss the steps and walk past the building altogether. Once I get into the foyer, I know that the door to the meeting room is ahead and to the left. I can use the TGSIs to cross the open space, then follow the wall to locate the door. In the meeting room, I don't know exactly where people are sitting, so I often rely on someone to direct me to an empty seat.
And then get them to either read the clock in the background, or I'll put up some numbers and they have to say what they are if they can. If they can't, then everybody else kind of yells it out and they can do it.
My workplace is just another destination that Ali has been taught to locate for me. I can ask her to find the stairs, and she indicates them to me by placing her front paws on the first step. This tells me that I've arrived at the steps and that I need to travel up. Inside the foyer, Ali takes me straight across the open space to the meeting room door. Because guide dogs can find vacant seats, I don't have to ask anyone for help once I enter the meeting room. This is particularly important if I'm running late and want to slip in with minimal fuss. After work, I often attend a fitness training session at an oval, which is on my way home. The long cane is useful for travelling, while I have a structure to follow, like a wall or a curb edge. It is not so useful for travelling through open areas or in spaces where there are minimal environmental clues to keep me orientated. At the oval, I can use my cane to detect the perimeter fence, but my cane can't detect when I have arrived at the gate. It's a bit embarrassing and not very independent when I have to rely on my trainer to escort me from the gate to the training area. After the session, I have to ask my trainer again for assistance so I can find the gate and continue heading home. Without help, it would be incredibly difficult to cross the open space and find the correct gate out of the oval. Like many people with vision impairment, the small amount of vision that I have deteriorates even more in low light levels. This makes travelling home during the night or evening even more unnerving and challenging. On the way home, I use the cane to detect a pole on my street that is near my front gate. When my cane contacts the pole, I know that I have to turn left and find the gate to my front yard. Usually this works well, but sometimes people park their cars up over the footpath and I miss the pole and wander further down the street. Getting to the fitness training session with my guide dog is easy. I can cross the grass area in a direct line and avoid the obstacles that are on the right side of the footpath. All I need to do is ask Ali to find the gate, and she safely guides me there and stops. Once I'm on the oval, Ali knows my fitness instructor well and has no trouble taking me to him so that we can start the session. After the session, I ask Ali to find the gate once more, and off she goes. This means that I can be independent and not rely on others just to help me to leave the oval. Ali understands that we head home straight after the workout. The moment I pick up the handle, she is already pretty sure where I'm going to ask her to go next. When we get back to my street, she knows our house and will lead me straight back to the gate. On the weekend, I love spending time with my horse. But travelling to and around the rural property independently can be very challenging given the uneven ground surfaces and lack of footpaths, not to mention the hazards and obstacles that can trip me up. Following the road edge with the long cane can be difficult due to the overgrown grass and potholes in the bitumen. It is also quite daunting when cars go by, especially when it's windy and I don't hear them approaching. Some of the paddocks that I have to cross to get to my horse have dangerous drop-offs and obstacles at head height that prevent me from being able to follow the fence to where I need to go. For me, the cane is just too difficult to use in this sort of environment. When I visit my horse with Ali, she keeps me walking on the edge of the road so I don't trip on the grass or stumble on an uneven part of the bitumen. When a car approaches, Ali slows down and we move away from the direction of the vehicle. When the road is clear, Ali and I can continue on our way. Because I can walk through the middle of open areas with my guide dog, getting to my horse's paddock is pretty simple and much more efficient than with a long cane. After a treat and a cuddle, Ali is always happy to have some downtime while I go off and see my horse.